We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Tuesday. I want to thank Eric for joining me yesterday. Getting a lot of
Monday,
guests.
sir.
No, it's
Monday.
Tuesday.
Oh,
Will, let me run
got
this
you.
damn show. This
Thank
won't
you,
air
brother.
until Tuesday. It's
My God.
Tuesday. Get with it, man.
Forgive me. You're a radio guy. My apologies.
Everybody
Hi,
on
guys.
TikTok.
How you doing?
Everybody on TikTok wants to correct me. You know, I
No, I
I
apologize.
I put I put some TikToks up and I inadvertently put 7/14. I put the date on it, and
Mhm.
everybody's going, "You got the wrong date. You got the wrong date," and it pisses me off. Not because I'm being pointed out that I've been wrong, because I've been wrong all the time. My wife points it out all the time. It's just that if I put some time and effort into a video, and the only thing you can come back with, you got the wrong date. I know I got the wrong date. I can't go change it now that it's
Yeah, it's
already up.
petty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
petty,
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 stupid
petty,
shit.
petty, petty.
And I don't care if
Yeah.
you're my
Hi,
friend.
Mike. How you doing?
Well, you screwed up the whole intro, so let's just hit this. We had Eric in yesterday.
hmm
We have uh, Will in today. He says it's Monday, and he's right. It's Monday, but you aren't going to be listening to this till Tuesday. This is so
Yeah,
anyway.
we're gonna time travel, everybody. We're time
Yeah,
traveling
yeah, we're
as we
time
speak.
traveling. But Will sent me a couple of emails, seemed pretty fired up about the things that were going on. And since you folks like it when Will gets fired up, I said, sure, come on, let's do it.
I mean, what's there to be fired up about? I mean, the Republican National Convention is coming on. Someone took a pot shot at Donald Trump and missed, and they're blaming Democrats for their own boy that's been created by themselves. The president asked for unity. It took them less than 12 hours not to go there.
Right.
So I mean, it's chaos, and
Well,
I'm tired of chaos.
since that's the big news as of late, let's talk about this
hmm
wannabe assassin in Pennsylvania and all of what happened there. I found something ironic. I was listening to them talk about this would-be assassin.
hmm
His name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's white. He's straight. He's LGBT. He is without question Republican. He's registered Republican, has been for 3 years. He's a conservative. He's in the NRA. He's a big gun guy. But then this is what I found interesting. They said um, he recently passed a background check to get a job in a nursing home.
hmm
He has no mental health issues, and he's never been convicted of a crime. And that struck me weird when you look at the juxtaposition. Here's a guy that's got a completely clean record, and his target that day would not pass a background check, does have mental health care problems, and has been convicted 34 times. That seems
It,
fucked up.
it's and you and I are old guys, and we know what it was like to be 20.
No.
But see, when you were 20, I'm trying to think when I was 20, what I was doing. I think I was trying to get in school. I was in school. I was trying to do something other than what I was doing. And you kind of have to look at the kid because he is a kid. He was a
No.
kid. That's bottom
Absolutely.
line. That was a child. And I don't care what you say you're 20. That was a child who got his worldview from everything that Donald Trump stood for. He got his fed from age because I think you saw this a couple of times on a couple of people were saying, well, he contributed to Hillary Clinton campaign. Dude, he was 12 and he voted
Oh.
for Biden. He was 16. He couldn't.
Well, there was something that they saw that there was $15 given to a Democratic, um, I don't know, PAC or whatever. Uh, and it wasn't him, it turns out. It was
hmm
Thomas Crooks, who was 69 years old. That may be his father. I don't know.
Right.
But it wasn't him that did it. This kid was clearly radicalized. And like you say, he's a child. And that's the scary thing. You know, I know how 20-year-old men are. I was one. I had two sons that were both 20 years
hmm
old. They don't know shit. They're very emotional. They're fearful and they act out. Most not like this, but is
Yeah.
that as much of a factor as the whole Trump
But
effect thing?
yeah, I mean, it's someone put it. We'll go back to the '60s. Talk about the hippie movement. Let's talk about all that, and then the anti-abortion movement before Dobbs' decision. someone made a comment. I don't know who it was, but it was almost like you want to belong to something. You may not really believe it, but you want to belong to something. You want to be part of something. The hippie movement was part of it. I mean, you think about that, and all that went down there. And then they grew up and they became, what were they? Yuppies. And
Right.
then later on, they became, what we see now. And then, like, people join groups and they latch on to stuff. People have interests, and it counts where your interests are. For this kid, it was conspiracy theories, weapons, and all that. But here's the thing: I know people who are weapons, who are weapons, but they're not like
Right.
this.
Right.
Um, and the thing was, my kids are older, in their 20s, but in my house, we had a lot of reading. We read everything. I mean, that's the thing. They became different, and I think a lot of it is exposure. What was he exposed to? Not going to blame the parents, but sometimes it goes back to nature versus nurture. And then you add in the last 8 years. The last 8 years have nothing but a stream of chaos and violence, and showing that violence is good. And then every time there's a horrible school shooting, they don't want to talk about it because it's too soon. Um, it all adds up.
Well,
And this kid just snapped for some reason. We don't know why. That's the
well,
hardest thing with all this.
well, if you're talking 8 years, you're talking this kid's point from 12 years old to 20 years old. And those are formative years. Those are very
Hmm.
formative years. And if we're talking about nature versus nurture, here's what we know for sure. We don't know anything about his parents. We don't know anything about his dad, except that his dad did buy the AR 15 and somehow left it open enough where this kid could get it. So we kind of know where his mindset is coming from with a father that would do that.
I mean, that's the hard. What I mean, I feel for the kid because I don't think he had a political agenda. I think he was. I think was it Nicole Wallace or someone said, I think he needed something to prove that he could do something in his life. There's a story that he tried to join the high school shooting team and he was cut because he couldn't hit something. Maybe he was trying to prove that.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing that, but that's the thing about it. It's the weirdest. Most assassinations, there's a political attachment to it. This seems almost appropriate for the MAGA and everything that we've seen, that the guy who took shots at Trump, we don't know why, because he was just there and was just indoctrinated and he had a gun.
Well,
We don't know why.
I said before this, we talked about the possibility of assassinations and such. And anytime you stir up a lot of violence and anger and cause people fear, this kind of thing could happen. And I'd said some time ago, I said if something like that were to happen to the Republicans, to Donald Trump, I would bet more that it would be a Republican than a Democrat, mainly because Democrats don't behave that way. Republicans do. And we have a
Mm.
problem with Donald Trump and the Republican Party. That Republican Party isn't unified. There are people that love him in the Republican Party and people that think he's destroying the Republican Party. So there could be people on the Republican side just as anxious to get rid of Donald Trump.
But it's a cult. I mean, I've seen some of the scenes from the RNC. I mean, that's just a cult. I
It
heard
is.
it. I mean, it's not a political. I mean, I've seen political conventions. You've seen political conventions. That's not a political convention.
No.
That's creepy. I'm sorry, it is creepy, and it bothers me because that's gonna be. And even after everything, it's like business as usual. It's business as usual, and it's. Here's the sad thing: a man died on Saturday, took a bullet for Trump. I'm going to say that he took a bullet for Trump. Um, and the president reached out to the spouse of the man who was shot. She didn't want to talk to him because she said her husband was a Republican. He wouldn't want that. But she thanked him for calling and said that Trump has not called him. Now
Yeah.
he'll probably do it, and the more likely she's being reached out by the RNC to drag her ass on stage soon. But that tells you, what does that tell you right there?
Well, Trump
What
hasn't
does
even
that
mentioned
tell
his
you?
name. Trump hasn't
No.
even mentioned his name.
And then when his first interview after the shooting was, God took care of me. What did Marco Rubio said? God protected him. Dear Lord, they're anointing him as some kind of Messiah already.
Well, the thing is, God also put the kid on the fucking roof and put a gun in his hand too, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, but what about the poor guy who's dead?
Well, absolutely. And the thing is, he is a Republican, obviously a MAGA fuck, but in real terms, whether regardless of his political affiliation, it sounds like he was an absolute hero because he gave his life covering up his kids.
Yeah,
And you got to
yeah. So I
respect
mean,
that regardless of what his
oh yeah.
political bent is.
I mean, his political. See, the thing about it, his political views, I don't care.
No,
I don't. If you want to be QAnon, I don't care, as long as he doesn't harm anybody. He didn't deserve that.
no,
And as a ex fire chief, who was, he did the thing he was trained for, and
right.
I give him credit for that. So he died. He shouldn't have died,
No,
but it wasn't like those Jan 6 people. There's a difference between that.
yeah.
Those people in jail for Jan 6.
Let me ask you
I,
this. What about
I
all these people that are suggesting that it was staged, that it was fake? What are your thoughts about that?
I was 5 minutes into that. Man, I dropped a TikTok on that saying that shit, I want to see bullets. I want to see forensic evidence, because the thing about it is we are not, because we saw all the signs, him popping up and everything, and we saw all that, and I'm like going, this is like a bad episode of SWAT. Give me a
Yeah,
break. I
yeah.
mean, but the point was, as you didn't, you took a deep breath. I saw the video. I did not, because because people were just like, I didn't want to give him a sympathy that he still doesn't deserve, Trump. Is that after listening to everything, and I think the Department of Homeland Security secretary said it. This is an extreme breakdown of security. People were telling the officers around them, "Hey, there's a dude on the roof. What are you going to do about that?" Shots were he fired. He got off 6 shots before anyone responded.
Right.
They
Well,
didn't clear the car. Go ahead.
there's a video of people saying, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof." So
Yep.
we know that actually happened, but people are suggesting that Donald Trump set this up to make him look braver.
Well,
And
you know
and,
what?
and my thought is that it's hard to believe given people who died. But then when you sit back and think about it, would Donald Trump be willing to give up sacrifice some people as collateral damage for his own soul? A narcissist
That's
would do that.
despicable. Yeah,
It's, yeah.
but I think the security breakdown was so bad it looked like a stage. But I will tell you this, and you will agree: Donald Trump he may be a lot of things. He's a fucking opportunist. And
Oh,
the minute that missed him, and he knew that he was alive, he stood up and he forced those people to stop. And instead of being these Secret Service people are not normal Secret Service people. They're tied to
no.
Trump. They're Trump lawyers. I'm sorry, they are. Most Secret Service people would say, he said, stop. No, they would have said no and pushed him down and run.
But
He got up as a target
the thing
and they
about
let him.
Donald Trump, his reaction to after being shot, like within a minute, is when he was standing up, putting his hand up.
Yeah.
That that goes opposite of type as far as I'm concerned. He's a narcissist. He's a bully, which means he's a coward. Typically, if something like that happened, that fucker would be curled up crying because he is a coward. But he stood up and he put his hand up. So I'm wondering, why did he all of a sudden feel safe when just a minute ago he allegedly got shot?
Again, I think,
Adrenaline?
no, I think Rick Wilson made a good comment about Trump, because we know he's an idiot. We know he does not listen. We know that he's not well read. He thinks he's smarter than he is. But he goes, and we know he's insane. But he goes, but he has a snake brain. There's a
Yeah.
certain snake part of him that knows how to take advantage of an opportunity. And where you and I would say, yeah, we'll stay on the ground. Reagan stayed down. I mean, they know that. There's a snake part of him that went, ooh, I'm alive. I can do this. And he stood up and did that. So I think that part of his brain popped up. Now, I don't think that if decades from now, someone that discovers it was, if you say someone historian finds out it was staged, I don't think anyone would be surprised. I
No.
mean, he's that despicable.
And how sad
Uh,
is that if it was staged, willing to sacrifice people? Because if you
well,
got a guy with real bullets with an AR-15 shooting toward him, but planning to miss him, and you know it's going in the crowd, and you know somebody's going to get hit. And at 130 yards, AR-15 bullet is going to go right through somebody.
Well, it obliterated the gentleman. That's what
Yeah,
they said, that it was a bad. What is that? I mean, are we talking like, a villain plot? Yeah. I mean,
it
I
seems
mean, are we
like it
talking
if
a
that's what it was.
Manchurian candidate shit? Yes. I mean, I can, but see, here's the thing. I don't have enough evidence now of it.
No, we
I'm going
don't.
to latch on. I'm going to latch on to the security was so bad. The Secret Service was so bad, so loyal to Trump that they lost sight of their mission and almost cost him his life.
But why
I'm
was
going to
it
hold
so?
that for that.
Why was it so bad? Did it have to do with Donald Trump superseding what
Hmm.
common policy would be, and he tells them what to do?
Yep.
I mean,
I
people
could see
say,
it.
why would they do that? I go, I don't know. Why would his fucking lawyers do that?
Yeah. Well, think about the Jan 6. What did he tell security? Get rid of the monitors. Those are white people. They're not going to hurt me.
Yeah,
The metal detectors. I mean, and they told him no. They didn't do it. They told him no because they already had seen people with weapons and trees. But see, that's a different cat. These people have been with Trump probably for a long time, and we already know the Secret Service had been compromised by Trump. They have. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't trust. I mean, Mike Pence didn't always remember January 6th. He wouldn't get into the car. Why? Because he doesn't know he's coming back. He
Right,
didn't trust his Secret Service. At the first part of the Biden administration, um, when the dog bit one of the Secret Service agents, everyone got upset. But I always suspected the dog knew something, and
yeah,
Secret Service has been kind of flushed since then because they got compromised.
right.
They have. The thing of the January 6th text. So the point being is that I could see it that they said, yeah, it's just one of those things. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's just probably someone up there, Trump. Trump doesn't like getting messed with it. And then something happened. And now everyone's running around. My biggest disappointment now has been a lot of the lefties, again, in panic mode. First panic mode was, Biden this, Biden that. What are we going to do with Biden? Now, as soon as this happened, I heard a lot of oh my God, now Trump's going to win the election because someone shot him. I mean, I'm looked at him going, just like Reagan. Let's back up because I'm hearing that from someone speculated the reason that, and I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but JD Vance became his VP pick, which makes no sense
Yeah,
other than he needed a sycophant.
yeah.
And that's Trump's like the sycophants.
That choice
Um,
doesn't help him. Doesn't
No,
help
it
him at
doesn't.
all.
But the reason they said he took it because Trump is sure in his head that he's won this election already because he got shot at. And a lot of the strategists have come to him and goes, it's just like Reagan. Now, these assholes don't understand this. Reagan was shot in the pretty much in the first part of his first term.
Right.
And then so it wasn't like the election was next week. The election wasn't until 3 years later. And what did the Democrats run? Walter Mondale. I will tell you this: I voted for Reagan because
Yeah,
Walter Mondale was a joke. I'm
yeah.
sorry, he was. He really was not a presidential candidate. But that's the thing; they are basing it on that. They think that JD Vance is going to mean they don't need JD Vance because this race is over. It's
Well,
done. It's
you know,
finished.
the whole idea of getting shot or threatened like that is going to give you the presidency automatically. Tell Jerry Ford that. Jerry
Yeah,
Ford got got
Trump.
got
Yeah.
got threats and shots twice,
Hmm.
twice, and he didn't get reelected. Jimmy Carter beat his ass.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think the whole idea that because Donald Trump, I mean, this is what the Republicans said. They said, well, now you just gave the win to us. But you know what? They said that before he said, don't indict him, or that's just giving us the race.
Yeah,
Don't convict him. That's just giving us the race. Now he's shot at, so just now you've given us the race. Why do you have to have these little points in time that give you the race? If you
because
got the race in the
because
fucking first place, why do you need more?
well, I'm going to bring one thing up that kind of hit me when this first came down with Trump. When I first heard that this shooting happened, two words came to my mind. I don't know why, and people know that they listened to us the last few times that I'm a big history type of guy.
Right.
I heard the two words was Huey Long. Huey Long was like Trump. He
Yeah,
really was.
he was.
Huey
Yeah,
Long was popular in Louisiana. He was getting a following. He was a fascist. He was a racist. He was a populist, and he got killed by his own people.
right.
Okay, I thought of that as soon as I heard who the person was that committed the crime. It's like Huey Long, and I mean, they eat their own
They do.
in the end. And right now with the Republican Party, the reason they're latching onto this, they have no fucking policies.
No, they have nothing, and
I
they're
mean,
desperate.
their
And
platform is a joke. I mean, if I wrote some kind of paper like that and turned it into a professor, they would have literally laughed at me in my face. Then the thing about that platform too, it doesn't include any stand on abortion or same-sex marriage, which we all know what they believe in.
right,
And so what they have to latch on is the one thing that the president said in his speech: we need to be united. But the problem is that you have a party who lives on hate, fear, and division. You can't do this. This isn't the John McCain campaign. This is Donald Trump campaign. This is irrational people living in a bubble.
right.
But the rational people know that they can see what's going on. They're supposed to have. I guess they're going to bring up the economy. I guess the next couple of days, RNC. What are you going to say? What are you going to say about the jobs? What are you going to say about the inflation that's gone down? What are you going to say? You can't say anything other than spin the same shit about immigration.
Right.
And the biggest issue I have now with the Democrats, and it's good to hear that you had said Lester Holt had interviewed the president and he pushed back on Trump and called out Trump for who he was,
Right.
because they didn't. The original thing I heard from the president's speech, they were going to focus on policy, and all I could hear was Obama. When they go low, we go high bullshit. No, and the good thing I would say is that Republicans did not see that, and they went low, and everyone said no. And now I'm glad to say the president isn't, because we cannot. All I got today from all these fucking Trumplafucks on comments was, well, why are you talking bad about him? Why are you talking bad about him? Because he is a bad human being. Let's bottom line this, people. Let's bottom line this. Take away the money, take away the fame. Donald Trump is a bad human being.
He's
He
probably
is
the
a
he's
horrible human being.
he's probably the most prolific criminal in recent history.
Yeah,
Um,
but if he ran, be honest, if he ran any kind of mafia, they would have killed him years ago,
oh
because they
yeah, he's
would have
too
hated him.
stupid.
It's too,
He's
yeah,
too
yeah,
he's
yeah,
Fredo. He's Fredo. They would have
yeah,
shot that motherfucker
yeah.
dead.
And the point is, like, that's the thing. We cannot do unification with these people.
No,
No,
it won't
I'm,
work. They won't
you know,
do it.
I'm, I'm tired of hearing, that, because the MAGA's gone.
You
They're
know,
done.
one thing I want to say is that regarding the whole idea that it could have been staged and all this stuff, there's one way we can make that decision tomorrow if you want. We can find out if it was staged or not. Donald Trump just needs to show us his ear. He needs to release
Yeah,
the report from the doctor as to what he did, because next day he's out fucking golfing. Couldn't have been that bad. And to be honest with you, when they showed the picture of the ear when it was bloody, it seemed to be fully intact. Now, I granted it's 130 yards, but when you've got a high velocity bullet coming from an AR-15 and it hits you, it's going to take a chunk out. There's no
there were
question.
some military guys on. It's a good dichotomy I saw. There was some military guys who were talking about that. I mean, laying down the grain of the bullet, and he goes, he would have no ear, and they
Right.
were making that comment. And a couple of people who have been shot or seen people shot on the street said, "Where's the blood? What's
Yeah.
going on?" And that's one of the things that threw me originally was, that's an old WWE trick, razor in your hand, cut your face a little, and it looks like blood. Now, I could say that maybe he caught the teleprompter and he got cut. That would make sense, but I haven't heard that like you have. No
Yeah.
one's seen the ear. He's out golfing the next day, and there's no medical report, and no one's saying anything. They're just kind of leaning into this mystic thing that happened to him, that he had an aura of God. Well, I mean, my God would not have had let a bullet kill another man.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
and
Right.
here, and as a person who's not a churchgoer but a person of faith, who grew up with my mom teaching me faith, teaching me that the gospels are more important than anything else and what Jesus truly believed. To listen to these people talk reverently with him as some kind of holy man is disgusting. It's the violation of the first commandment, but they do it. They do it, and it's like it hurts my heart as a Christian to listen to other Christians say that and pervert Jesus's teaching. Yeah, I got a little religious, people. Calm down, but understand my point is, if you're an atheist, cool. If you believe something, it's cool. But we all want the same thing: is to help everyone else.
Right.
Because the true teachings of Christ have always been welcome the stranger, help others, be part of your community, make everything better in the name of God,
Let me ask you
not
this.
this.
Let me ask you this. There's some investigations that are going to happen on this shooting, even some independent investigations. We've got some issues with the Secret Service. We knew that from back at January
Mhm.
6th. If they find some fishy things about this, and I'm not saying they are, because as far as I know, it's legit. But if they find some fishy things about this, do you think they'll tell us?
I think if Biden is president, and well, when Biden wins the election, the first thing Joe Biden must do is find some place for Merrick Garland to go.
Yeah.
You need to go find an aggressive prosecutor. One of the reasons, and we'll be touching this, Eileen Cannon blew up the classified case because, and I think Brian Taylor Cohen made a good point that Garland, in his weird, I want to be fair to both sides bullshit, did not appoint a DOJ prosecutor in the area to prosecute Trump for treason. And he left it to Jack Smith and put the whole ball of wax in Jack Smith's lap. Now, a century of precedent said it was okay, but when dealing with Trump and his bullshit, you can't do that. So to go back to your question, if he replaces the AG and kind of revamps the DOJ and they do an investigation, they find something, oh hell yeah. Because there's no one in there, because they're going to blow this, because Trump will be a weak dog at that point. That's what's going to happen. And if it turns out it is, prosecutions will happen.
Well, and
Definitely.
they should. But here's the thing. Donald Trump is a reactionary. He's all about emotions. He Because of that, he fucks up a lot. So I'm guessing that if there was some staging to this so that he could, part of this, people have been saying to me, and it could be true, it may not be true. They're saying if it was staged, it was because this Epstein stuff is coming out and he wants
Oh
to change the
yes.
narrative. Now the problem is that might be crazy, but I could see how it would be a possibility.
Toss in Project 2025 would caught everyone by surprise.
Right.
Um, I mean, he had the president of the Heritage Foundation now running around in interviews saying, no, 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 that's not what we want to do. That's what the left wants to do. They want to create this communist state without the con. I heard those words and I'm going, what? I mean,
Gaslighting.
no, but it's not a gas. Look, I'll admit it. I can lie real well.
I can
Okay.
too.
I'm a good liar. It's got me in trouble a lot
I
sometimes
don't
when you
do
get
it
caught.
anymore.
But when there's gaslighting and then there's that. And basically it's saying, oh, don't, no, 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 just ignore what you read. That's just this, it's the epitome of saying that everyone's stupid
Right.
and I'm the smartest man in the room and whatever I say goes. This all brings us back that we live in interesting times. And
Very.
right now, and that's the Chinese curse. And all my life, I depended on, in my mind, that the United States and the democracy that I lived in would stand. It had bumps, it had issues. People did bad shit. I mean, I was in the LA riots in the 90s. I saw that, but we kind of corrected it. We
Right.
always try to move forward. We're at a time where people, and then this chaos is ready to move us backwards in ways I don't understand. Why? I mean, they had a guy on the congressional floor from Minnesota said he wants to go back to the 1960s.
Right.
Why? And you can't go back to the 1960s. I mean, you can't do it. You can't. You cannot. Everyone's going to move forward because
Well,
when you move back, that's when revolutions start.
and the thing about it is, when somebody says that, I don't understand what they hope to accomplish. Because when he says that, that means people of color are going to be marginalized,
Hmm.
LGBTQ people are going to be marginalized, women are going to be marginalized, and power and rights taken away from them. You say that. How do you figure that's going to help you in an election when you've pissed off more than 50% of the country?
I mean, old white guy. No offense, old white guy living in his bubble. I mean, a lot of these guys. A lot of it is a reaction to that. What they see the country's been. What's going on. It's hard for them to take it. All of them still think they live in a madman world where everyone's running this. Women knew their place. People of color knew their place. They didn't shake the cart. I
Right.
mean, I mean, in the old days of Jim Crow, in especially in the South or anywhere, there was always I like these people if they only were like this one black person I know.
Yeah.
If they all were like that, it'd be okay. We know this. I mean, then makes them comfortable. Also, I mean, a lot of it's a lack of education. Let's be honest. I mean, I don't have a degree, but I do a lot of reading. I mean, I don't critical think. I just listen and want to know. The lack of wanting to know more has died a lot in a lot of people.
So, Will,
That's hard.
between
Mm,
you and me,
mhm.
we have 0 degrees. My wife has a
Correct.
master's degree. I have zero
Yeah,
degrees.
mine's got a bachelor's. Yeah.
And the thing about it is it isn't about academic education. It's about being aware of yourself and aware of
Mhm.
what's around you and what's right and what's wrong and what's truth and what's lies. It's as simple as that. Anybody can do that. Like I say, I'm not a genius. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm with the people that are telling the truth, and
Mhm.
I'm the with the people who want some unity and don't want to hurt other people. That's the right side to be on, regardless who the political party is
And
supporting.
I mean, when I had to re-register to vote because I did move, I'm going to register as an independent until the Democrats flesh out their leadership
Absolutely.
because they proved to me with the whole Biden thing. As you can see, it's still the mass media is still trying to go after Biden. You know, if you can handle it, bullshit. Um, that their leadership is still needs to be purged. And honestly, I'll say this straight up: once they win the Senate, senators have to really discuss whether Chuck Schumer should be the majority leader. I'll be honest.
I
I
agree.
think his time has come. I'm okay with Hakeem Jeffries. He was trying to balance stuff in the House. I see a lot of potential there as Speaker, but it's time for as Democrats you to look at your party. Hell, even the guy who's now the chairman of the Democratic committee was defending Biden. And he was like, they kept hounding. He goes, "Get off my back! I
Yeah.
know how this works." And the point is that the cowardness of a lot of the left leaning people is sad because
It's dangerous too.
those it's dangerous. Those people going back to the 60s, if you want to talk about going back 60s, those people, a lot of them came to the South and stood with people for civil rights.
Right.
A lot of those, some three of them died in Mississippi as a freedom rider. So that was the left. I don't know what happened to these people. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, ever since you alluded to this interview that was on with Lester Holt on NBC tonight. Now, my wife loves Lester Holt. I thought he was all right. He's a uh, typical network news guy.
Show.
But
Yeah.
but when I'm watching this interview, it's gotten me to the point where I'm just tired of all media, left side, right side, center. I don't even fucking care because they all have an agenda. And so Lester Holt is interviewing Joe Biden, and Joe Biden did an excellent job in this situation. He says, "Well, what about when this happened in the debate?" Joe said, "Look, I had a bad night. How come you never talk about the multiple lies that Donald Trump told?" And Lester Holt just says, "Well, we kind of talked about it." And Joe goes, "No, you didn't. No, you didn't." Joe got in his face and said, "No, you didn't." And that's the kind of thing we need out of Joe Biden. Since that debate, there's been 22 events where he's spoken and he's been fine.
Oh
The
yeah.
fact that anybody's still talking about this is almost embarrassing.
I mean, the New York Times article where they had a newsletter. I don't know if we discussed it just a moment ago. No, we didn't. No, we did it before.
Right.
New York Times had a political. I get their political newsletter still because I want to see what they're saying. Don't going to subscribe to the paper. They give me that for free. They ain't getting my money. So it's about the Republican National Congress, written by this woman named Jill Bedard. Oh my God. You remember Pravda?
Yeah.
It was Pravda. I mean, he was saying the joy of everyone in Milwaukee. They're so ready to win. And then at the end, then they have chosen a new prince in JD Vance. What the fuck? This
Yeah.
is a political convention, not a goddamn coronation. What the
Absolutely.
fuck, lady? And then under that drivel, now that was in print. Go find it. It's in print. They chose a prince. When you read it, I read that. I'm going, are you kidding me? But under that was another thing is that Democrats in distress because they kept Biden, many sources say.
And that's absolute
It, it,
bullshit.
and the thing about it is that, and going back to the Lincoln Project, Rick Wilson was talking about, how this said, he goes, he knows people on the insiders of Washington. No one is talking to the reporters of significance in the campaign. The only one talking to reporters they caught two interns talking to reporters to try to give them dirt on. That's their sources are interns.
Yeah.
They have nothing. They're creating nothing, and it still goes on. And again, the justification that they're going to win. The Times Siena poll says that Trump is leading by 3 points in swing states. I don't trust the Times poll to save my fucking life.
No. No.
Honestly.
No. I
I
don't. I
mean,
don't trust any of the polls. They've always been wrong. I'm at a point now. I said this on a TikTok. I said, "Listen, Joe did the right thing. He pulled his ads.
mhm.
There's a time for respect and solemnity and all this other stuff." But 24 hours later, Donald Trump is selling T-shirts with his picture on it. I say the time of grievance is over. Let's go back full bore. And when we go back full bore, I'm going to call out Donald Trump every time for everything he's doing. But I'm also going to call out the media because the media is culpable in this whole thing.
Oh
I'm
God,
I'm
yes.
ready to say at this point, if you're somebody looking for the truth and facts, don't even go to the mainstream media, left or right. You got to come here or people like us because we're the only
Midas
ones that
Touch,
have
which are really good.
Midas touch.
Brian Tyler Cohen.
Absolutely.
Um,
We're the only
um,
ones that have the courage. And you know why we have the courage to do it? We're missing one thing that every one of those motherfuckers have. And you know what that is? Some bitch in a suit behind us telling us what to say.
exactly.
Nobody's going to tell me what to say. Nobody's going to tell Brian Tyler Cohen what to say or Midas Touch. We're going to tell you the truth. And if you really want the truth, you almost have to stay away from the media. They're doing a horrible job.
And it's they. I've never. It used to be the one. I mean, how many movies you say about the one reporter in town finding the one thing to save everyone? I mean, hell. I mean, we've seen that movie 1,000 times. The last one won um won an Oscar. The one about in Boston overturned finding the Catholic priest. The
Right.
Boston Globe, the Boston Globe did. but you don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they've become not reporters; they've become entertainers, and it's sad because journalism is dead. It died, and very few exist. And it's kind of, I mean, you can't listen to it anymore. I can't.
Let,
It's just the same stuff.
let me ask your opinion about the media in this situation. Old Souls down in Texas helping
Hmm.
women
Yeah,
of
I saw
domestic
that. Good
abuse
for
with the
her.
hurricane and all this stuff. But she sent me an article that I hadn't seen. It was reported in CNN, of course, and it says Morning Joe pulled from the air Monday because of Trump's shooting. And what she's suggesting is she hasn't read it completely, and she didn't send me the whole article, but she's suggesting that Joe's been pretty hard on Donald Trump, and maybe people are saying that he's the one that incited this violence against Donald Trump, which is absolutely fucking absurd. So they pull him off for Monday, and they're coming back on today. What more do you have to hear
Oh,
from
I
CNN?
think what I think part of it is that if you remember when the after the debate, Morning Joe,
Yeah,
all the men were like jumping off the Biden thing and saying Biden's replaced. Mika was the only one going, basically going, "You guys are just a bunch of pussies."
yeah,
I remember that, and I don't think they're afraid of Joe Scarborough. They're afraid of Mika because
really.
Mika.
That's
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Mika would have stood up and said, "Oh hell no." I mean, this is a tragedy, but remember who we talking about.
that's
She would have
interesting.
done it. I think that's the fear of that because she's. I mean, I saw that show, and those guys all just playing, and she was there, just with. I literally thought she was going to grab Joe by the head, husband and I, and slam him in the desk. Because she was so frustrated because she saw what it was, and they kept talking about Joe Biden's performance, and they didn't talk about his lie, about Trump's lies, and she fought the fought. She fought that. I am telling you, it's not Joe Scarborough. They're worried about Mika. Mika
That's
Brzezinski is going
interesting.
to come out of the gate and eat someone alive.
That's
That scared
interesting.
the hell out of them.
That's
And
interesting because that makes sense. Actually, I like Mika.
yeah, because
Uh,
she fought everyone. She fought everyone for days on this thing. I heard her. I mean, even with Nancy Pelosi, who to an extent backstabbed Joe Biden by not standing with him. And I will say this, and hell, I'm so pissed right now that then what's her name? His old press secretary, um, Paskey. Oh God,
Jen Psaki.
John Psaki. She went full corporate on him. She tossed her whole bus under the fucking bus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I mean, as soon as I heard that, she backstabbed him, and then people going, "Why isn't backstabbing?" They're taking, there's no both sides to this. Let's get this straight. This is what's coming down to it. This whole shooting thing, this whole assassination attempt, they tried both sides. There is no both sides. I mean, oh, let's put it this way: if Trump had backed off, and Republicans had said, "Okay, great, we're going to talk about policy," and then we're going to run a good campaign, yeah, maybe. But it took less than 24 hours from until it only took 15 minutes for the Republicans to show who they are. Come on. The guy in one of our assholes here in Georgia saying that the Butler County should file charges against Biden for inciting an assassination. Are you out of your fucking mind?
That's ridiculous.
I mean, that's where we're at. JD Vance, the same thing. All of them. It's ridiculous. And so right now, like you said, gloves are off. Fuck
Well,
this.
yeah, fuck that. I will say one thing, and we're going to take a break. But in this interview with Lester Holt and Joe Biden, Lester Holt pulled that same kind of game because, the Republicans taking little things and exaggerating it. And then when Joe, prior to the shooting, was talking about Donald Trump and his issues and the crimes he's committed, um, Joe said, "Well, we got to paint a bullseye and focus on that." Now, when it was reported, it came out that Joe said something about crosshairs. He never said
Yeah,
anything
I
about
saw that.
crosshairs. But Lester, do you think it was a good idea to say bullseye? Fuck you. Fuck you. You're trying to
Yeah.
start something out of nothing. And Joe explained had nothing to do with that. How would I
It was a
know that?
campaign. It was a
We have,
campaign mode. He because he knew that policies. I mean, the one thing I think Joe learned that President Biden learned from the debate is that you don't do policy with this man. You
No.
go after him
Yeah.
because that's all he knows. That's all, because there's no policy. People know your record. He laid out his record in his speeches. He's laid out his plan for our next 4 years.
Yeah.
Now we got to contrast. This is what we're running against.
Right. Right.
You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Will, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Will has consented to join us. He's got a lot of ideas. And
consented. I kind of like demanded, but go ahead. You
No,
take
no,
your
no,
take.
no,
I
no.
got mine.
No,
I
no.
don't. Go
You
ahead.
can ask my family. I don't do anything I don't want to do.
I hear you, brother.
That's part of the luxury of not having a guy with a suit behind me telling me what to do.
Amen.
But we were talking about the Lester Holt Joe Biden interview. And even though we've gone through all we've gone through, Lester Holt asked him straight out. He said, "Have you given more thoughts to whether you want to step aside? Is that something you want to do?" Joe just looked at him and he said, "No." That's all he said was no. He was fairly certain about that. And he said, "Well, who do you talk to? Who do you consult with when you have to make a decision of stepping aside?" He just said he's not stepping aside. And Joe looks at him. He goes, "Who do I talk to? Me. I make the decision." And that's what a president should say, and that's what a president should
Exactly.
do. And I will tell you my personal reasoning why I think the media is so hard at pushing Joe to step aside. They want him to step aside, not for political reasons, for money reasons. Because if Joe decides to step aside, then all of a sudden it's going to be a big story and it's going to bring a lot of viewers. Let me explain to you how this works. When I do TikToks, I have a lot of followers. So I can get 5, 10, 15, maybe 20,000 people that watch a given video I do. But when the president or the former president gets shot at or something big happens, I do a video and it'll get 100,000 views. That's the difference. When something big happens and you're reporting it, all of a sudden everybody kind of gloms onto it. That's what they're looking to do. They want Joe to do something because it'll be a big story and that means money to them. So it's all a bunch of bullshit. It has nothing to do with politics, the good of the country, or the good of the people. It has to do with their fucking bottom line.
Yeah, it's boring. Joe Biden is boring policy.
Right.
Because Bill Maher did say one smart thing recently amongst a whole bunch of dumb shit, but he did say something about government being about a grind, government about people doing the little things, and doing the job of governing, not the performance art we've seen with this Congress. Joe Biden is a worker. He's worked it. He's got people who came up with ideas, and he's accepting it and pushing forward. Again, Joe Biden was a solution to a problem. He became president, and then he inherited an entire shit show. But because he was so entrenched in government for so long, he knew how to untangle it. And that's why we got everything we did so quickly in 2 years till we lost the House.
Right.
Because we got the infrastructure bill. We got he realized that in order to make us strong, we have to make our own technology chips again, not depend on China, because that it's a political animal too. You have to depend on the Chinese government for chips. He invested in that. That gave these companies reasons to come to the United States and invest and give people jobs. The infrastructure bill is ridiculous. There are manufacturing jobs everywhere.
Yeah.
What I do for a living, I sell insurance. I talk to people across the country, all over the country. I talked to a couple. I sold them a policy in Vermont. Do you know what they do for a living?
Right.
They make and sell solar systems, the whole thing. And they're doing really well because they brought a brand new car, cash. That's economy.
Right.
That's what he gave us. Is it good for everyone? No, but no economy is good for everybody. That's what you put in. And sometimes shit doesn't work out for you,
Right.
but it's a better thing. And the problem with that, the press knows this. The press knows that all these factors work in Biden's wake, and it's going to be boring if they don't find something to work with.
Yeah.
And all they have is his age. And every time he makes a slip, they pound it
Right.
because, like you said, they need clicks. They need, and the sad thing about it is, if Trump becomes president, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're
True.
finished.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, it's insane. Um, it, it's literally, it's literally just, if you have like a canteen of water trying to get across the desert, and you need to last this for a day, instead of taking sips and getting across it, hitting it once, and maybe I'll, because I needed it right then and there, and see what happens.
Well,
That's the way I'm looking at it right now.
I frequently get people coming to my page or coming to my DMs saying, "You're the only place I get news from." And I wouldn't recommend that. I would get it from other places like Midas Touch and some other places that like me or like us. And the thing about it is I get it. If you sit and watch the media, MSNBC, CNN, OAN, Fox News, it's all different shit, but it's all the same shit. It's not real news. They don't tell you everything. They don't tell you what you need to know. So you have to go digging for it yourself. And frankly, uh, for me sitting here and Midas Touch and all the other people that do what they're doing, the media is driving people to this. And that's a good thing.
Ratings are down.
Yeah,
Ratings are down.
my
Big
ratings
time
are
down.
my ratings are up. I mean,
Yeah,
granted,
but
it's not
like
as
the
big as theirs.
mass media ratings are dropped. They're feeling a pinch.
Yeah.
I don't know what the New York Times or WAPO are, what their subscriptions are like,
Oh,
but they're, I mean, but their corporate masters think that this is going to benefit them, and I don't see it how, because you're not getting, when the whole Biden thing, the height of the Biden hysteria,
yeah.
all they expected all Democratic voters to run and hide and agree with them. What they got was a bunch of people going, "No,
Fuck
we got
no.
his back." I
Yeah.
mean, that Detroit rally, we got your back. They mean it. People mean this because they see the benefit and they know they're being gaslit, and it's driving the media crazy. This shit usually works.
Yeah.
It's not working,
Well,
and they don't get it.
that's the thing. They tried to weaken support. And this is what I talk about with polls. I don't trust polls because we don't know anything about them. We don't know anything about their legitimacy. But by doing what they did, they emboldened the people that support Joe Biden. The Democrats and
Mhm.
Joe Biden have always kind of sat back on their laurels and were quiet and calm and nice and polite. Once they started doing that, motherfuckers got mad. They
Yep,
got mad and said, "We support Joe. Fuck you." And you're right.
because
They don't know what to do with that.
they don't do it. And I think one person made a good. I don't know. Maybe this is. I think it was a gentleman who's a comedian. He's like a liberal and comedian in the South. And it'll come back to me later on. But he said it's like you're attacking your grandfather.
Yeah.
They went after Grandpa,
Yeah.
and Grandpa's been
Right.
good to us. He's been
Right.
really good to us. He's given us the stuff my mom and dad don't want to give us. What the hell? And the thing about it is they went after him in ways that we all knew was bullshit, and they did it for a man we all know is a liar and a despicable human being. That's the thing. It's not like, I think one person made a good comment about, again, going back to the assassination attempt. If it was any other politician but Trump, something like this might have worked, but it's not, because we all know it's bullshit, and the majority of us are going. And we had a discussion earlier. Yeah, but maybe he might have staged this.
Yeah.
How insane is that? How really insane is that we even think that? And it's not because we have that we despise him that much. It's just we know he might do it.
Yeah. That's
And that's
crazy.
sad. That's really sad.
Well, we know, and he's a pathological liar. He said he knew nothing about Project 2025, but he's in the document 300 times. He said he didn't know Jeffrey Epstein, but he's inside those documents 69 times. And in fact, in the call logs where he is making appointments for massages. So we know whatever comes out of his mouth is not true. And the whole thing is pretty ridiculous. Now, look, I'm a grandfather. I still got my wits about me. I've got a granddaughter who's 4 years old. That little girl, whatever she asks me, I'm giving her. Whatever she wants to do, I'm doing it because I love the kid and she's got me wrapped around her finger. But in 20 years, when I'm 84 and she's 24 and I'm too old and decrepit, I expect her to whip out a can of whoop ass if necessary. And I think she could
Right.
do it. I'm going to need that little girl to protect me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just hard to it's hard to see. My wife, when the Eileen Cannon thing came down, I think you want to touch on that
Yeah, let's do
this
that.
morning. This morning, I mean, I'm like, it popped up on the news feed, and I go, "What? What?" She goes, "What now?" And I told her, and my wife said, "I told you he's going to get away with everything." She's been saying this for a long time. I told you he's going to get away with everything. She goes, "I'm going to go get our passports." So, honey, we're not running. And then, but then I saw someone put a clip of The Handmaid's Tale on, and the recent season where they're trying to get out of Canada, and her husband goes, "Well, this is in Gilead. Yeah, we waited too long, and America became Gilead. We have to go." And I don't want to be the husband, but the point is, I don't want to run. But that was not unexpected. If
No,
you expected anything differently, then you're naive, and it's not a win. I don't see that as a win.
it's not a win
It
for Donald
doesn't.
Trump. It's a loss. I
No,
mean,
I
the
mean,
thing about it is when this whole thing started and when Aileen Cannon was doing what she was doing, um, the hard part of this is everybody says, why doesn't Jack Smith do something? Why doesn't he send it to the 11th Circuit? Because she hadn't made a decision that he could
right?
appeal. So we knew that at some point she's going to have to make a decision, and we knew she might go the whole fucking route and do this. Everybody was upset and screaming and crying, "Oh, he'll never be tried." And never, it's all bullshit because they will take it to the 11th Circuit and it will get overturned and she will get booted. Now, they may try to take it to the Supreme Court and
Oh,
that
they're
would
going
make it
to.
long, but the Supreme Court isn't going to do that in spite of what they did with the immunity thing. They aren't going to do, maybe Clarence Thomas will, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of problems if they follow through with saying that a special counsel is unconstitutional.
Yeah,
Because Joe Biden reminded Lester Holt that I had a special counsel look into me. They were in my house for
right.
10 hours. Should we do away with that? Hunter Biden is under prosecution now with a special counsel. Should we just let that motherfucker go? Should we let everybody go that has been prosecuted by a special counsel? You can't, it's not, it's not going to win. What's going to happen is it's going to be delayed, but we knew it was going to be delayed.
Yeah,
You're going to get a new judge because Eileen Cannon will get her ass kicked. And what Eileen Cannon just did could get her impeached too. And trust me, it's a lot easier to impeach
if
her than it is a Supreme Court justice.
if the election is going to turn on that, part of it is that she was afraid to make a decision because she knew what she had. She knew who she was beholden to.
Yeah.
But when Clarence Thomas put that little whatever comment in the immunity decision,
A little
which was
Easter egg.
unnecessary, yeah, little Easter egg that was unnecessary, then most people who are law people going, "What the fuck?" And all of a sudden she turned around and did this. It was like her giving him he giving her to go. Don't worry about it. If you get to the Supreme Court, we'll take care of the boy. Um, so she did it. So the 11th Circuit is going to go and look at that and go. The first special prosecutor was appointed by Ulysses S. Grant,
Right.
and to investigate some kind of fraud. That's over a century plus special prosecutors. You
Right.
tell me this uneducated, low life, lousy judge who
Criminal.
barely has a law license shouldn't be in this position is more important than 100 years of precedent. I
Well,
want to see the Supreme Court roll that out. Roll that
yeah.
up.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that these three other cases, everybody goes, oh no, they're going to go past the election. At this point, I don't really care. He's got 34 felony convictions. He's going to be sentenced in September, whatever that may be, whether it's jail time or not. The fact of the matter, he's a convicted felon. Um, he's not getting away with anything. And if
No,
those trials will go forward after the election, but he's out there by himself because the Republicans won't want any part of him after he loses the election in
no.
November.
Especially if it's going to be what I think it's going to be. I know everyone's in panic mode. I know everyone is basically shatting the bed every time a poll comes up, or every time someone says something weird, or the media, or half the Obama administration former wants to turn on Biden. Let's put it this way: from what I'm hearing from everyone else in my circle, and maybe I'm not in a bubble, is that they're going to back Biden.
Yeah,
I don't see people not backing Biden now. Even
no,
people who said, man, one person said they were a Bernie bro, they're still going to back Biden because they know the difference. Now, I mean, and the point is, we know what's at stake, we know what's going on, and we're seeing all this shit being tossed to get Donald Trump elected, even though we know what he is.
right.
That's the weirdest thing. We know what we got before. 2016, we didn't know what we were getting. Maybe he'd go into the job, blah, blah. Well, that was a mistake.
Yeah,
I didn't vote for him, but enough people did. And now we know what the second act would be.
right.
It would be horrendous because all his people are around him ready to take advantage of us.
I got a, I
That's
got
it.
I got an email that I'm going to read in a later show, and I think somebody was trying to call me out. You seem so sure about 2024. You seem so sure. Did you predict Donald Trump would win in 2016? You know what? I did. I won $100 because a Republican was saying, "Oh, Donald Trump's not going to win," and I was watching what was going on. I was looking at the facts. I wasn't getting emotional about it. I didn't know what he would do. Otherwise, I wasn't really as engaged in politics then. I said, I think Trump's going to win. And he won. And then in 2020, I said, he's not going to win. He didn't win. And in 2024, I'm saying he can't win because he's in worse shape than he was in 2020. It's not about emotions. It's not about what the media tells me. It's
No.
about the facts. If you
And
slow down and mellow out and just look at the facts, it isn't a hard guess to make.
and the thing is like, I mean, popular vote, I know it doesn't matter. We're talking about our convoluted system with the
Yeah.
electoral votes. But you can't tell me that he has gotten, I mean, he lost by 7 million votes
Yeah.
in
Right.
22. I'm sorry, in 20. You're telling me where did he get 8 more million votes?
Yeah.
It's,
Exactly.
it's good. The math doesn't work. We'll talk about the swing states. Yeah, the swing states, they're not looking good. Arizona, they're putting Kerry Lake up as a senator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's going to really good. Also, they've got um, an abortion
Question on the ballot. Yeah.
question on the ballot.
So does
Nevada,
Florida. So does
yeah, so does
Florida.
Florida. Nevada, no, people, the Democrat there is doing well in Nevada. North Carolina is starting to look good because they nominated an idiot to run for governor.
Right.
That guy, oh my lord, he's the character of a human being. I've never seen anyone like that. Here in Georgia, 3 points, 1 point. Could Joe lose it? Yeah, but at that point, I don't think it would matter difference if he doesn't have the 16 electoral votes.
No.
Pennsylvania, they keep saying he's leading in Pennsylvania. Where?
Yeah.
Tell me where. How he's going to win in Pennsylvania. I mean, there's not enough rural bodies to do that. Philadelphia's behind him. I've seen his rallies in Philadelphia. They love the man.
Yeah.
I mean, with Biden, they don't try. I don't see where. Michigan, they keep saying, well, Michigan. No, I saw Detroit. And the only way they're going to win is if they're trying to rig the voting system. The Republicans in there, but a lot of those states, they can't do it because they're Democrats
Well,
in
and
there.
yeah, and the thing about it is everybody says, well, he'll just cheat. Well, he cheated in 2020 and he was the president and he still failed.
Yeah,
So he's got less opportunity coming up in 2024. He has no power. He's a private citizen.
as a private citizen. And it's going to, and people are just tired. Honestly, I just want normalcy. The thing about it is like everything that happened Saturday, the only thing I could think of, what the fuck now?
Well,
because we don't need this anymore. And the thing about it is, I remember normalcy in politics. It wasn't perfect. It had issues. We were dealing with issues. But when I looked at a Republican convention, it didn't look like a fucking hoedown. It didn't look like a freak show. It didn't, I mean, it didn't look like that. And that's what I'm seeing right now. It's ridiculous. And because they have nothing to offer us, all they have is a show. You're
I,
not giving us anything.
when you say this hillbilly hoedown, I did a TikTok that I thought was going to get me in trouble, but I don't fucking care. I did a TikTok and I said I was watching the RNC and it looked like a hillbilly hoedown or a hillbilly hootenanny. And the thing is, they validated that by making the vice presidential candidate the guy who wrote Hillbilly Elegy.
Elegy.
They
You
brought
know,
in
I
an
read
actual
that book.
hillbilly.
I read that book, and it's a very perceptive book.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't know what the fuck happened to the guy, but it was a perceptive book. It was a really perceptive idea of who you are as a human being and how you bring it. It really was perceptive. I don't know what the hell happened to him.
No, I
I
don't.
mean, I don't get it.
No. Well, the thing I thought would get me in trouble on the TikTok thing, because we were in the hillbilly mode, I thought I'd make a reference that only old people would probably get. I said, as a big TikToker now, I got some privy information. I'm privy to information behind the scenes. And I heard that when Donald Trump asked asked JD Vance to be his vice president, Trump had his whole entourage around him.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at JD Vance and he says, "Boy, he got a pretty mouth, doesn't he?" And then JD Vance was so excited, he got down on all fours and squealed like a motherfucking pig.
Yeah.
I,
Dee, 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 dee,
I,
dee, 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 dee,
I
dee. I
figured the
mean,
young people wouldn't get it,
God.
and the old people would say, "Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true."
that's the thing. It's like I don't know. It was suicidal. I
Yeah,
mean, it was. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna go back to the first election with Obama. I was gonna vote for John McCain. I really didn't know who Barack Obama was. I
right.
knew he was the freshman senator from Illinois. I really didn't know if he had any experience. I mean, and I was going to vote for John McCain as president because I knew John McCain. He was a known entity. He was a good man. He was a Republican, but he was a good. He was seems to be a good
Yeah, he was a
man,
decent man. Yeah.
decent man. And then they shoved Sarah Palin onto the ticket,
Oh, that fucked him over.
and at that point they did it to appease the Tea Party. And at that point, no, I voted for the unknown entity because that woman was MAGA, pre-MAGA, before MAGA. Insane, a nut, crazy, saying shit off her ass that even John McCain was like shaking his head.
She
He
was
was,
a she was a better looking Marjorie Taylor Greene.
oh God, I don't know what people think she's attractive. I do not. Sarah Palin is just
I didn't say she
because
was
the thing.
attractive. I just said she wasn't hideous.
There's so much. There's a. I guess they did a movie about the McCain.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw it.
I mean, I saw clips. I did not know that she wanted to do the concession speech.
Yeah, she's weird.
That I mean, see, the point is that's what drove. If they had put a regular Republican in there, you couldn't tell me there was a Republican woman you couldn't put on there, Sarah Palin. No
Oh,
way. No. I mean, I would have voted for John McCain. And if you think about it, you go back to history. How would have changed everything? Where would Donald Trump be at this point? Would Obama have come back? It would have been a different country, I think. I think it would have been a different world at that point.
well, to give you an
Um,
idea how bad it was with, like you say, McCain had a good reputation. Actually, toward the end there, it looked like John might have been losing it. And now later we find out he had a brain tumor, so maybe he was because he was acting a little erratic. But they bring this woman in, and I know John McCain thought this was stupid, but he was forced to do it. Brings this woman in, and the Republicans are all behind him, but she's so stupid. This is what the Republicans are thinking. She's so bad that they elected a black guy. Like it's never happened before, and they
no,
never imagined that could happen. And they were pissed from the moment Barack Obama got elected the first time and the second time. And I'm convinced what we're going through now is
Oh
just
yeah,
punishment for the audacity of electing a black man.
and that's where we're at. It comes back to politics should be about competency, what you're going to do to make America better, what you're going to do for your constituency. That's the hardest thing about a lot of these showboat congressmen. You have a consistency of constant whatever people in your district that sent you there.
Yeah.
You're supposed to serve them.
Right.
And in addition, in a relationship to the country, you're not supposed to be. I mean, Green disgusts me because what the fuck is she doing in Florida? What the fuck is she doing over here? What the fuck she doing? You have people in Georgia that elected you. You should be serving them.
But
Same
they'll
thing with
reelect her.
Bobert.
But they will reelect her too, in spite of the fact
Yeah,
she does nothing but hurt
that's
them.
probably good to hoping because Rome, Georgia is Rome, Georgia. And you go in there, it's sad. Bobert might go. I don't know. I hope Colorado, the people in that district. That's the hardest thing. But the point is, if we take Congress, if we take the Senate, all they become is little whiny things in the background.
Right.
They have
Right.
no power. They will have nothing. And that's the thing. Bottom line is for all of us, through all this bullshit, through all this chaos, there's a term, there's a line in Game of Thrones. Chaos is a ladder. So for a while, it has been a ladder for a lot of Republicans and Donald Trump. But we get to the point where the chaos and the lies get too much, and we're at that point.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. One factor we aren't factoring into this election, the whole thing about chaos and scandals and shit shows, this has been going on for 8 years. And I really do believe that people are tired. They're exhausted from this. And even if they might like Donald Trump, they know the shit show will continue and they'll just vote for anything that's calmer so they can go back to their regular lives. I think that is a factor in how people will vote.
And that's why I think that the math, I mean, the Republican Party right now, the RNC right now, they are literally celebrating a win. They think they've got it in the bag. They think that this is over.
Yep.
That they've wounded the Democrats. They've got them on the run. It's going to be over soon. Their polls are telling them blah, blah, blah. But I don't see that.
No,
and
I don't
by
see
the
it
way,
either.
there were protests in front of the RNC in Milwaukee
I heard
that
that.
started with like 50 or 60 people. I've heard now it's risen to 6,000.
Yeah, so did I.
6,000 people. What does that tell you?
In kind of a red state.
Yeah, and they're there. What is? I mean, that is I think that's a point that they're missing because in their little bubble inside that convention, yeah, they think they own us. They don't.
You know what the thing about it is though, I enjoy the fact that they think they've got this one because there's only one thing I enjoy better than beating a Republican. It's blindsiding a Republican and get them beat.
Oh God, yes. And the thing about it is like, you seen all you get the comments, you get the TikToks.
Yeah.
These people are lost. I mean, the 5 minutes after this whole thing came out, they're all talking about, yeah, well, let's bring it on. It's time for this. Come on, guys. No, it's not working like that. And if your only response to my view of something is that you're too fat and you should lose weight, what the fuck? That's your take? That's your take?
Well,
like I don't know this?
I get all kinds of comments, and you know the thing about it is when it comes to in Minnesota in the black community when you're busting balls, you know, they call it the dozens here. I know this because I worked in the black music community, but I happen to be pretty good at it. And I would love to be sitting across from somebody when they said something to me, because I've been in those situations before, and they're not very quick and they're not very clever. And it's real easy to tear them apart. Unfortunately, in the comments, I can't do that because then they go crying to TikTok saying I'm a bully. And then they have a reason to take down my video. So I just block them. I get rid of them.
Yeah.
The next best thing is to silence them. And
Oh,
that's what
I
I
just
try to
block
do.
it because the thing about it, if you're not going to say something that's, then anything that's going to bring to the to the conversation, or something that's true, I mean, I don't spend time with you. It
You have
doesn't
no
make
value.
sense.
And that's
You have
why
no value.
and that's
Yeah,
what I was saying, when I would get Democrats coming in, oh, Joe Biden's got to quit, or you got the wrong date. I block those people too because you don't bring any
date.
value to the conversation. We're trying to get through this and deliver a message, and you're worried about stupid shit, you know, whether you like the way I look or the way you look. I don't give a fuck. I
It
don't
doesn't
care
matter.
what you think. No, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I laugh
And
about it.
one guy, this is the one I always like, and this one actually I got a lot of response from people. This guy comes in and he goes, you know, said that you're remarkable because you look like a woman, you act like a woman, and I go, what the fuck? Why is it that every time you alpha males come in, and so-called alpha males come in, and when you don't like a remark, we're all women? And I said, dude, I know women will kick your ass in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
What is it with you incels? Because that's not an insult to me. That's not an insult. It's I'm like, what are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the ignorance. I think the hardest thing is that 1984. The first thing I remember reading in that book in high school was the words "ignorance is knowledge" under the Ministry of Information,
Right.
because that's the way they ran everything. If people are ignorant about it, they will buy it. And that's where we're at right now. That's what you see every day on Fox News. That's what you see every day in a lot of these Facebook or Reddit, or wherever
Any of
Trump
them.
the fucks go.
TikTok for that
They,
matter.
yeah, yeah. And the ignorance is knowledge, and I guess that's my fault for being well read and picking up books. I mean, to understand that, you know, it- the the two things I always remember when it comes to that: ignorance and knowledge from 1984. And if you know, in the Christmas story, what is the two things under the um, Ghost of Christmas Present? The one is want and one is ignorance.
Yeah.
But watch out for want, but beware this boy, because ignorance is what drives everything. People want to be ignorant of what they are, and not they don't want to be challenged. And
I
that's
wonder
hard for me to believe.
I wonder sometimes if it's sometimes even beyond ignorance. It's about knowing it's wrong, but you'll say anything to push your agenda. I think that's almost even worse. You're willing to lie to enrich yourself. And
It's called
that's
corporate America,
well, that's
unfortunately. A lot
corporate
of it.
America. Well, that's called Republicans at this point. I mean, they can't admit anything that they've done wrong. I mean,
Mhm.
this is it a senator or rep Menendez? The jury's out on him. He's going to
Oh, you
get
mean the Jersey senator
yeah,
Menendez, who got busted with the gold in his house?
right. The jury's out now. He's going to get convicted.
Oh, he's going bye bye.
And the Democrats aren't going to do anything but wave at the motherfucker. If it were Republicans, they'd be trying to get out of this in every single way they possibly can. They don't care about what's wrong. They only care if they win, and that's a sad state.
Yeah, and winning is the only rule is to win.
Right.
And to an extent, it's correct, but it's not. Is how you win in the end. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to win. I mean, I do every day when I speak to someone. To me, it's I want to win, but I'm not going to do something unethical to do it
Right.
because it's not right.
I want to win, but I got to face myself. I got to face my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and if I can't do that, it isn't worth the win.
And what are we going to? I mean, the bottom line coming up in this election, we all have to ask ourselves, what do we want? What do
Yeah.
we want for our future? I mean, my future is limited. Um, but fortunately, like you said, your future is limited.
Yeah.
My kid's future is a while. Um, what do we want? I mean, do we want to go backwards or forwards? Because if we do the right thing, we're going to go forwards fast,
Yeah.
because people are already ready for it. If
Well,
we go
that
backwards, it's going to take us maybe decades to get out of it, if not kill us.
Well, that's one thing I said about Joe Biden. I hoped for this in early on in his presidency, and now as we get closer to it, I'm seeing it. I said that if Joe Biden wins a second term, this was 4 years ago, he should get away from his centrist shit, get away from what he knows politics to be, and create a legacy like no other by making huge changes, even in the first 2 years, with Medicare, with
Hmm.
health care, with giving. If he did all these things for the public and it showed up well in the economy, if he quit after 2 years, Kamala would take over and she could probably win for the next two terms easily because of all the great results he would bring to the middle class.
But he's already done that.
Yeah,
I mean, his
but he can do
economic
more.
views. He can do more. He wanted to do more. He's been stymied because, again, his idea of middle out makes sense.
Yeah,
And the thing about it is the business, all these business leaders who are fighting together, millionaires, you do understand you're making money now.
right.
You're going to pay a little more taxes, but you'll make more money. It's going to benefit you. I mean, what more do you want? Because with Trump and that economic system, it's going to crash you. You won't make that much money. No one's going to buy your shit. It
Well,
doesn't make sense.
I mean, if you got your money invested in the stock market, and generally it's more rich people than it is people like us, at least directly. If you want to make money in the stock market, and it's over 40,000, it's broken two records in the last
Hmm.
month. What are you bitching about? What are you bitching? What is it you
That,
want if it isn't money?
I don't know. I mean,
Power?
part of it is, yeah, power. Part of it is union. They don't like the idea of unions coming back. I mean, they convinced the Mercedes-Benz people in Alabama to vote against the union because the Benz promised them A, B, and C, and then Ben said, "No," and now they're pissed, and
Yeah,
because they're finding out real quick you can't trust the company. You
right.
can't trust a company. And the union would be a good standing. Is it perfect? No. Do those in a union, those sometimes who don't do as much work, get paid as much you do? Yes. I've been in a union, it happens. But I'll tell you one thing, I'd rather have that contract and that set pay wage and someone to fight for me than to trust a company,
Well, you know
period.
what's so short-sighted about this, and I can't believe they can't see it, or they're just that greedy. You have a big company and you sell products or services, and you sell those product services to the middle class. Now, if the middle class can't afford your products and service, you're out of fucking business. You would want to make the middle class flourish, to make your constituency or make your customers healthy. But instead, they want to drain them of everything, and then they'll cry to the government, "Oh, we can't make any more money." It's just constant lazy grifting.
And the government under this situation, in worst case scenario, would say no. We gave you your tax cuts. We're not going to do anything for you. They're not. I mean, right now, there is no economic plan for the Republicans. There's no social plan for Republicans.
No,
The only plans they have are to enhance the few $1 billion donors who will be okay regardless of a collapsed economy,
right,
and to satisfy their hate by rounding up 10 million people and putting them in camps.
right.
And who's going to pay for that, by the way, if you get rid of income tax? Just throw that out there. That costs money.
Well, you were talking about taxes and different plans. Donald Trump's plan is to um, put tariffs on things from overseas. What he doesn't tell people is those tariffs aren't paid by the Chinese; they're paid by us with products that cost more, which obviously blows inflation out of sight. So, what's Joe Biden's idea? Joe Biden says, "Fuck you. We'll just make it here, and you can fuck
Right.
yourself. We'll make it here better, and we'll make it cheaper." That's the right move. That's the smart move, and I don't
And,
understand why Republicans can't see that.
but I mean, Trump has said no. He keeps insisting the countries will pay the tariffs.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I know it's no sense of economics at all. It doesn't make sense. No, and I mean, they said that we're going to get rid of the income tax. Well, they did that for the rubes to, oh great, we don't have to pay income tax. Yeah, it doesn't work like that, fools. Because how do you pay for shit? You don't. The problem with the Republicans have always been, going back to the Reagan years, is the idea of small government.
Right.
Yeah, or the libertarians, no government. The problem is those systems don't fucking work.
Right.
They never work because people depend on. All you have to look at what's going on in Texas, and look at Texas. They're instead of the government stepping in and paying for the linemen, no, they're depending on this center point company who's refusing to pay the linemen, and they won't move. They don't tell them where to go. You can't find the governor because the governor is in Asia. The vice the lieutenant governor is not picking up the president's phone because they want to send in money with FEMA.
Right.
And then FEMA has to go through the state has to go through Centerpoint. These people don't care.
No,
You
they
keep
don't.
voting for people who don't give a fuck about you. Fucking stop it. That's why and I'm sorry, forgive me. I see these people come do these ticks out of Texas on that. And I look at them going, you voted for this shit and do not tell me about voter suppression. Fucking bullshit. No, you voted for this.
Right.
You voted for these Republicans. And this is where, hell, you re-elected a attorney general who's a fucking criminal,
Right.
known criminal. And you guys did this. I can't feel sorry for you. I can't feel sorry for you in Alabama. I can't feel sorry for you in Louisiana. I can't feel sorry for you in Mississippi because you voted against your worst interests. And don't give me the fucking gerrymandering because we're talking about statewide fucking offices.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, the only state that ever did it right was Kentucky because they hated the person that wanted to be governor so bad they put a Democrat in. Everyone
Right.
else is Republican, but the one guy's a stopgap in there.
Right.
I mean, this is, I can't, they just aggravate the piss out of me.
You're exactly right. The gerrymandering is a legitimate complaint and it's all been gamed. But if you get enough people to turn out, it will override the gerrymandering. I mean, when we had the turnout we did in 2020, it was because people were afraid. It's my contention that people are even more afraid. So they're going to turn out even bigger in 2024. You can gerrymander all you want, but if you bury these fucks, it won't make a difference.
It won't. I mean, what was it? They had one district where they thought the Republican was going to roll over the Democrat. Democrats didn't put any money in there. The guy won barely by 3 points. Barely. If they had put some money in, they could have won that seat. They're beginning to see people don't want to. If you vote against, and I don't want to talk. I hate saying that to y'all, but it's truth. You guys you voted for against your own interests, or well, I didn't vote. Then that's the same fucking thing. I didn't vote because I didn't think it'd make a difference. So don't come complaining to me because you're the same fucking thing. You're in the same boat.
And if you're living and dying by polls, I just want to remind folks, the polls said Britain would go with the conservatives, and they didn't. In France, they said that the conservatives would win in a landslide, but in fact, the liberals won in a landslide. Fucking the liberal government even won in fucking Iran, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Granted, these are other parts of the world across the seas, but do you notice a trend? People are frightened of conservative dictators. And part of that is coming from what they're seeing here.
There was a gentleman on the Stephanie Miller show this morning. I forgot his name, but he was in Italy. His wife's from Italy, so he was in Italy this summer. And a lot of his wife knows a lot of people in the conservative government. And they're insisting, look, we're not a fascist government. We want to do things within the government. We're just conservatives. And he goes, they are fucking scared of Donald Trump becoming president.
Absolutely.
This is a conservative government in Italy because they support NATO. They support a solid Europe. And they're afraid Trump is going to then blow it up. These aren't fascists. These are true conservatives, and they keep insisting on it. Le Pen was a fascist. Put it that way. I mean, she's a stone cold fascist. And Britain, the poll was still leaning toward the Labor winning. They didn't realize Labor was going to crush them like they did. The Tories are done for a decade and a half. They're finished, and they have no They have no recourse. That's what I'm hoping for November 5th, because the only way we're going to move forward is to crush the Republican Party to that point where they become insignificant. I'd love for them to be the Whigs
Yeah.
and go into the dustbin of history.
Right.
I don't think they'll do that. I think there are enough people who are old Republicans may scrape together something. But we're getting to the point. All this right now is it's a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of fear mongering. And the problem is we who understand what democracy needs to be needs to take a deep breath and think of it as basically at this point, we have to do what the Romans did, put up the shields, wait for the spears and things to glance off them, and advance as a unit. Advance, spears out, advance, because that's the only way we're going to do it.
Well, and that's a good point. You know, I get a lot of people coming to me scared to death about this and that and the other thing. It it's just a waste of energy to worry about those things you can't control. So you got to do what you can do. Do it to the best of your ability, and like you say, keep moving forward.
Because that's all we
Trust
got.
good will win. That's all you got.
Because I said that to my wife today. Is just that why do you think? Because I think people are inherently good people.
Yeah.
Most of the time, there are bad people. There are evil people. We read about them all the time. But I think in general, we all get along and we want the best for everyone. We're not overtly cruel to one another. Um, the cruelty I've seen right now is literally the point with the Republican Party. It's cruel. It's just there was a gentleman on TikTok with me who I follow, and he said that he was an atheist. He was a Catholic, but he wanted to be a priest. But he was disillusioned by the um, all the things that had happened in the church, the controversies, the pedophilia, all of it, and he kind of lost. He became an atheist.
Right.
Because lately, though, in watching the evangelicals who are not Christians, who are false
No.
Christians, and their beliefs, he keeps going back to the scriptures he knew under Jesus and preaching to them things he knew. And he goes, "I'm confused. I don't get it. I don't believe in God, but I'm quoting these things." I mean, he goes, "I don't get it where the guy puts up in Louisiana puts the 10 Commandments, but they refuse to take $71 million to feed children over the summer in schools. It doesn't make sense to me." And I'm quoting things that Jesus said. I mean, he it's kind of weird to watch an atheist get shaken in his own faith of being an atheist.
He's
But the
shaken in
point
his
is,
lack of faith, is what he is.
lack of faith. But the point is, like, you don't have to be an atheist to be a good human being, or you don't have to believe in religion to be a good human being. If you're Muslim, you're Hindu. If you're Christian, you're a good human being. If you do what every one of those religious base say, even Islam guys look at it, to take care of others, to be part of the community, to love one another in the name of God, whatever God you worship.
Well, and
That's
that's
the base thing.
but
Period.
the point is whether you believe in God or not, the 10 Commandments, the Gospels, these are all good suggestions for we to behave like normal, decent human beings. You don't have to believe in God to believe in being a decent human being.
That's it.
If you want to use God as a shield so you can do your misdeeds, well, that's what the
That and
evangelicals and the
that's
Republicans do.
that's so. It's sad and hurts me to the core because that's not. I mean, that's not what Jesus wanted.
And that's not
Jesus
human
came with
nature.
forgiveness. It's not human nature. And forgiveness was a concept introduced later on, and grace to give us an opportunity to look at ourselves and go, okay, yeah, I kind of fucked up, but I can be better now. I can forgive myself. I can serve others. I can be a better person. I can love my children. I can love my family. I can be a good part of my community and not worry about what was and
Right.
become more than that. And I think that's what's missing with half our political people at this point.
Well, we're going to wrap things up. Before we do that, since we were talking about religion, I'm just going to insist. It's not going to stop me from swearing. I'm going to insist you, Will, and
Oh, fuck
everybody
no.
everybody else that comes on the show is going to have to treat me with a little more reverence, because as of today, no, wait, no, wait, no, wait. As of today, I became ordained in the Universal Life Church. You probably wonder, why the fuck did you do that?
I'm
I
pretty sure.
did it. I did it because my son's getting married and he says, you could be the
Oh,
officiant.
cool.
I go, me? Why would I be a fucking officiant? I think he's trying to save money. But so
Yeah.
I had to go online and do it. Took me about 5 minutes to become ordained. I spent $78. They're going to send me the documentation. I got to go to the county and get my license to do the marriage. But now technically I'm ordained. So I don't believe in churches. I believe in God. I believe in all that
Yeah.
stuff, but I don't believe in churches because I think they're just clubs that
That
humans
that's
started.
that was the one thing I think the gentleman I in the conversation where he was confused was that what church teaches that? And what I should have and I didn't get a chance to respond to him is that you're the church.
Yeah.
You're the church. Even I mean, in one of the gospels, Jesus said, "One or two are gathering in my name, I'm there with you." You are the church.
Right.
I don't need those people.
No.
I know who I am. You're ordained. Cool. You're your church. And
Exactly.
and it's okay. The thing about it is it's okay. And that's the hardest thing that I think right now what we're seeing with the fear that we have is that what we're seeing from the far right Republicans, the Christo fascists, all that, they don't want that to be okay.
No.
They want you always to worry that you're not okay. We call that the Taliban. We call that um, religious fanaticism.
They
No, we're all okay.
they want what they want, and they'll tell you God wants you to want that too, and it's just bullshit.
Exactly. But
Well,
amen.
well,
Hallelujah.
we're gonna wrap things up. You probably have to work tomorrow, right?
Yeah, whenever I work at 1:45 in the afternoon, so it's not too bad. Um, today's been kind of I had to speak to my brother as we spoke to other. My father passed away last
Yes,
Wednesday
we're sorry to hear that.
suddenly, and so it's kind of like there are days that are good. There are days where you remember when your dad taught you how to put a salmon egg on a hook, and we had a complicated relationship. I think every father does with your son,
Yeah.
and we and so there are days where it's good, days are not. One of these days was like that. Talked to my brother, he had some issues. But I want to tell as a send off for all everybody, if you have parents, if you have older parents, and you haven't spoke to them, the one thing my brother told me is that my dad was watching the new Game of Thrones show with my brother-in-law, whose wife, my sister, passed away about 2 months ago. It's been a rough year,
Oh wow.
and he was talking about. He's watching, and I'm going, I love that show. I hadn't talked to my dad. I didn't know he liked that show, and now he's gone, and I can't talk to him about that.
Yeah.
We had something more in common. I didn't know he had.
Yeah.
So y'all, if you got your parents and you haven't talked to them for a while, pick up the phone before it's too late.
Yeah.
And so I hate to put this on a downer, but guys, I think that'd be better for y'all.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, it's always good to make peace with whoever you have. I'm one to talk because I didn't talk to my father before he died, but it was a much different situation, and I didn't have that closeness,
Hmm.
and the things he did were just egregious, and I put
Hmm.
that behind me. So it didn't upset me. My mom was a different situation, but I understand what you're saying, and it's good advice that we make peace with those people we can make peace with
Hmm.
before it's too late. Absolutely.
Right. But Mike, thanks for letting me be part of this. You guys take care of yourself, keep the faith, because that's the best thing for everyone and makes you sane.
Absolutely. And thank you, Will. I'm sure you'll be back at some point. You'll get wired up again because more shit's going to happen.
Oh
And if you
God,
want to come
yes.
back, you're welcome to come back. Those of
I
you
appreciate it.
listening, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.